All right, what's going on, good peeps? Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Y'all know first thing first. Let me know you can hear me, and let me know if you can see me. And yeah, we get this party started. All right. Let me know you can hear me. Let me know you can see me, and get this started. All right. Run a couple of tests before I got it started, and I don't know if this string gonna host it. I don't know. This thing works when it wanna works, and it does what it wanna does. So I don't know. Maybe I need to look into some new streaming software or something. I don't know. I don't know. All right. All right. So y'all can hear and see me. All right. All right. You haven't pleaded, thumbs up. And Jeff, what's going on? How you doing, man? It's been a while. How you been, man? Well, Lady D, roll them out. What's going on, LaKendra? LaKendra, you sent me an email last night, and I responded back to you. I'm not sure if you got it, but if you have, please respond to it, if you will. Thank you. Miss Single, what's going on? I love to talk. What's going on? My man London Link came here early. What's going on with all of you? All right. Hold on, give me just a minute. All right. What's up, Rhonda? Excuse me, Rhonda. Lord have mercy. Rhonda, how you doing? My man, the real K in the middle. What's up, y'all? Please hit that thumbs up for your boy. Please, 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 pretty please. All right, guys. So here we go. This what we've been waiting on. We have an update. Ellie gave an update yesterday. Matter of fact, I think they was live while I was live. I just ended up missing it. But Ellie has gave an update on this story, and we gonna hear how this young fella got this gun, which I'm sure some of y'all probably heard how he already got it, which is obvious. It's obvious how he got the gun, you know what I mean? That's really a no-brainer how he got it, where he got it from, you know. But, you know, we just could think about the possibilities of what ifs. So we're going to hear this. And, hey, you know, we're going to get right into it. And, guys, I'm going to have to, stop in between it and get commentary, because y'all know with these videos a lot of times, depending on how they got the restrictions on it, you can't just let them play. You got to stop every once in a while and get commentary on it. So for those of you who don't like people stopping videos, I apologize in advance, you know, but it's just the way you got to do it. All right, but let's go.
Thank you all for joining us today. And I know there was some question about, as we go forward and share some information today, I know there was some question about when we would deliver some remarks and comments. I think that's important to our community, right? But we wanted to make sure that we took some time and gathered some information. We had some good information to deliver and clear some things up. So my name is Steve Drew. I'm the Chief of Police here in Newport News, and I will tell you that this is an unprecedented situation that we're dealing with. A 6-year-old. It is unprecedented. So there are some nuances here. Last Friday was a hard day for our city, for all of us. And there were a lot of heroes. I will tell you that Saturday afternoon, I was able to meet with family, and I was humbled, but I was able to meet with Abigail Zwerner. Abigail is a 25-year-old teacher, and she is a trooper. She is a hero. I talked with her, so before I talk today, I'm going to go through the timeline, establish that a little bit for you, talk about our officer response, what happened while we were there, and where we're at in our investigation. But please remember that we are only 3 days into this, that there's a lot of things that still need to happen. And I'll talk about that as we go forward. But there are some questions that we will not be able to answer because of where we're at with this investigation. When I met with Abigail's family on Saturday, and they took me up to her room, she asked me, first question, do you know how my students are? She was worried about them. And then today, when I went back to share with her that we were going to hold this press conference today, she again asked me, do you know how my students are? And that touched me, her family and her mother. Abigail wanted me to tell you all, but primarily her students and her parents of her students, that she is in stable condition and that she is thankful for the thoughts and prayers that have gone out to her, to people that have reached out not only here locally, across our state and across our nation. She is very, very appreciative of the support that she's getting and continues to get. So I just want to establish with you a brief timeline. Last Friday at Richneck Elementary School on January the 6th.
Hold on, Jeff. She didn't buy the gun for him. From my understanding, what I got it last night, and Miss Single hit me off, or Tina, one of y'all hit me off if I got this right or wrong. She ain't been too long purchased this gun. Okay? She ain't been too long purchased it. Now, the question is, how was he able to get to it? How did he know where it was, you know? That would be my question, and I'm assuming they may gonna talk about it right here because I only heard 13 minutes of it last night because I was at work. But she didn't purchase the gun for him. The mom purchased the gun. He got it and put it in his backpack. And that's how he was able to get the gun. All right? He put it in his backpack, and I'm assuming she didn't know he put it in the backpack, so she didn't buy it for him.
1:59, a call came in and advised that a teacher had been shot, and there was no other information that came forward. Officers were dispatched at 2:00 p.m. Personnel to Richneck Elementary. And anytime we have a situation where there is a shooter or they believe a possible active shooter, officers are going to come from all over. So there were officers from different areas there. At 2:04, 2 sheriff deputies arrived at the school and entered the classroom where this shooting took place. And we'll talk a little bit shortly here that it was not an active shooter going on throughout the school. Everything happened in one classroom. 2 sheriff deputies entered at 2:04, and about 8 to 10 seconds behind them, 2 officers entered. When they entered the room, they found a 6-year-old child that was being physically restrained by a school employee. The child became a little combative, actually struck the school employee that was restraining him, and officers then took control of him and escorted him out of the building, placed him in a police car with an officer inside and outside that vehicle. Once that had occurred, there was a systematic evacuation of rooms and hallways for safety. So we still weren't sure exactly what all we had at that point. On the timeline, I want to go back and talk about the other response. As we said, at 2:04, deputies and officers responded. At 2:06, medics arrived at the school. At 2:07, the medics were cleared by officers to enter the building, that room was safe where we had someone had been injured. At 2:09, they made contact with Abigail, and at 2:11, she was transported to a local hospital where she's currently undergoing treatment. And again, if I didn't state earlier, she is still listed in stable condition, and I had a good conversation with her today. We talked a little bit about when the officers arrived. The young man was taken into custody and escorted out of the building. And officers responded then and began to put a plan together quickly to evacuate the hallways, the classrooms in a systematic order. But remember, we're dealing with elementary kids, right? And I will tell you, I was touched by the way that those officers interacted with those kids as they moved them from the hallway to the gymnasium. The faculty and staff there, and I'm not just talking about teachers. It was heroic, the way I saw them take care of those young people. Officers and faculty members took the students into the gymnasium. That's where they would stay until they were reunited with their family. The individuals that were in the classroom were taken to the library where they were held there, kept there with detectives, a couple of teachers, and eventually some school counselors. When they arrived, we escorted them safely to that area as we continued to clear the building so that they could be, the professionals could be with our young people, with students. We talked about detectives and counselors that were escorted there to make sure that we had professionals with the individuals that had been in that room. Once the building was safe, forensics entered the classroom and processed the crime scene. I want to share with you what we recovered there. 1 spent shell casing, a backpack, a cell phone, and a 9mm Taurus firearm was recovered. The firearm was recovered close to the student's desk
Now just imagine that. Wow, they come in there. This is what they find by the 6-year-old desk in elementary school. All of that: a cellular phone, a gun, and dispense case shell. A 6-year-old. And it kind of makes me think now when they say it like this, how they explain it. I can't help but to wonder, which I don't think this happened, but I can't help but to wonder, could it be a possibility that the mom actually gave this boy the gun? You know, just a thought. Not saying that she did, but you know, when you hear stuff like that, just make you think, damn, did she give him the gun? You know, cause where did he know to get it at to put it in his backpack? So I don't know if any of y'all thought about that as well. You know, did she actually give the gun to him? You know, wow, this is why a 6-year-old. That's why I say, guys, age ain't nothing but a number.
Where the shooting occurred. Mrs. Zwerner was providing class instruction. The 6-year-old child displayed a firearm, pointed it at her, and fired one round. There was no physical struggle or fight. She was providing instruction to her class. There was one round fired. Abigail took a defensive position. And what I'm sharing with you is because she has allowed me to share it. She took a defensive position where she raised her hand. The round went through her hand, exited the rear of her hand, and into her upper chest. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that. I'm not a physician, and the complications there, but that was the injury as she leaned back and took that round. She suffered a gunshot wound, but she was still able to get all of her students out of that classroom. From the video surveillance we have of the hallway, you can see the students running out of that classroom across the hall into, and I'm estimating about 17 to 20 students out of that classroom across all into other classrooms. Mrs. Warner was the last person to leave that class. She made a right turn and started down the hallway, and then she stopped. And she turned around. She turned around to make sure that every one of those students was safe. She made her way down to the administration office, where we later find out that she was given first aid as dispatchers talked to individuals who had made phone calls, and they took care of her through communications until the paramedics got with her. Several faculty members were interviewed at the scene. Others, there will be follow-up interviews. There will be follow-up interviews with Abigail. The students that were there, we will work with child psychologists who are trained to interview children. We'll work with them and want to talk about what they saw in their accounts. Now, once I arrived, myself and other officers, I got a quick brief assessment of the situation, what we had, and I wanted to get out as quick as we could to our community and our parents.
Tria Bill, what's going on, my brother?
We did not have an active situation. The individual was in custody, and that there was no longer threat. I tried to explain a little bit about how children were being moved to the gymnasium. We'll work with our school board members and faculty and staff there, our sheriff deputies, that came all together, and we had a systematic process of releasing a child to their parent. They were identified, and we got them back together. You can imagine there was some frustration by parents wanting their children back, and I can understand that. Myself and the mayor worked the line as parents lined up, calming them down, reassuring that their students were okay. But you saw tears and frustration, anxiety, and I appreciate that, sir. Because in those situations, what we ought to do is try to keep people calm because they're just unsure of what they had. And as we reunited, as I saw school employees walking students and officers walking students back to their families, I saw tears and smiles on both sides. Almost in that moment of seeing our fire department, sheriff's department, police officers, school board members, school officials working together to reunite those children and loved ones, and the care that they took for those young people, it was amazing. Laughing, supporting, holding their hands, talking to them. I saw children in the gym that were making fun of officers and officers making fun of them, just bonding and trying to make that situation that we're dealing with the best that we could. They remembered how important those young people are in that time of, they may never forget. The parents of the 6-year-old child were contacted by the police department and asked them to meet us back at police headquarters. They did so, and at that point is where we interviewed the child and his mother. We determined that the firearm was in the residence where they lived, and the child had obtained that firearm, placed it in his backpack, and brought it to school. He was brought to school that day by his mother later that morning.
So, in other words, if you saying it like that, you know what I'm saying? My thing is, she put this gun to where he could see it, and he snuck and got it. Or, like we said earlier, could have been a possibility she actually gave him the gun. Just a speculation right now until he come out and say yay or nay, she the one gave me the gun. Yeah. You bought the gun, but either you let him see where you put it at, or you just put the gun down, didn't think nothing of it, you know, and he went and got it and put it in his backpack, or maybe you did put it in a spot or a box. You didn't lock the box. He went in there and got it. Or you put it in a spot. He was watching you close with his bird view eye. Saw where you put it at. Went and snuck and got it. You didn't go check. You didn't check his backpack that day, obviously. And he was able to sneak into school with this gun. Let alone he had a cell phone, which I don't know what a 6-year-old would need with a cell phone. I mean, but I don't know. Maybe he snuck that too. I don't know. Or again, guys, could it be a possibility that this lady just straight up gave him the gun because maybe he did go home and tell his mom what the teacher was doing, and she said, "Fuck it, I'll give you the gun. Go handle your business." I hope that ain't what happened, but you just can't help but to wonder.
The 6-year-old child brought to school, like we said there, and it was determined. We wanted to know about that firearm. It's one of the things that we did in our press conference there. Was one of the questions I had. Where did that firearm come from? The firearm was legally purchased by the child's mother out of York County. Detectives, so after we had this information, like I said, this is unprecedented. We're dealing with a 6-year-old. Detectives talked with Human Services and Child Protective Services, our Commonwealth Attorney's Office. I've talked to Mr. Gwynn several times, as late as last night and this afternoon. The Community Service Board, which addresses mental and behavioral health. Due to the age of the child, we made these contacts and conversations to seek guidance on possible services, because none of us have a lot of information dealing with something like this. Based on this conversation, an emergency custody order was initiated by detectives, and the 6-year-old child was transported to a local hospital where he was evaluated. The CSB, Community Service Board, determined that a temporary detention order would be obtained from a magistrate, and the child is currently receiving treatment at a medical facility. Now, the department will continue to conduct this investigation, which will consist of follow-up interviews. We want to talk to the individuals that were in that classroom with help of a child psychologist. We want to meet with Human Services or Child Protective Services to see if there's any interaction or any cases that they have with the family or the child. And we also want to work with Dr. Parker and his staff, which have been extremely, extremely forthcoming with information of any issues they may have.
Now, y'all remember I read an article where they saying that by them really can't do nothing to him, you know, the courts can step in and revoke the rights of their parent or parents because of this. And now he's saying they're going to work with the people who probably deal with the Children Protective Services. They're going to be working with them, so, ooh-wee. Yeah.
Dealing with the child's behavior or any behavioral issues or concerns. I'd like to reiterate, and I said that night, I just want to reiterate that this shooting was not accidental. It was intentional. Now, I believe, and I told her today, I believe that Miss Zorner, Abigail, that she saved lives on Friday. I cannot be more impressed with the faculty and staff of the school. I can't be more impressed with those children, the way they exited the hallways and went with instruction, the officers and deputies who talked to them, some holding their hands as they walked through, and the number of school employees that came in and we escorted to the gymnasium and even to the library to work with those young children. And I also want to thank all of our federal partners, state and local officials who've called and asked if there's any support that you need from the governor's office, all over the state, but primarily around our surrounding jurisdictions. Is there anything you need? And I believe that's because of the relationship that we have. So as we go forward, those are the conversations we'll be having as we continue to put this investigation together. There are a lot of things that we need to continue to do. We're only 3 days into this investigation. But I just wanted to share with you a little bit about our response, what we had, a little bit of the timeline, what was recovered, and what we have done at this point and where we are as we go forward to have those conversations with our Commonwealth Attorney and the CSB board on the best avenue to go forward in this situation. I'll take some questions at the end. At the end, I want to make sure that Dr. Parker and our mayor speak, but before I step away, I just want to say that I am appreciative and thankful of the partnership and the relationship we have, and I want to thank you for your being there and just kind of all of us working together. I think that's what makes this city great. Horrible situation happened that we were able to come together. So I just wanted to say thank you.
And good afternoon. I will start my remarks by thanking quite a few organizations. I know our police department, sheriff's deputies, our city council members, and our school board, and that great staff at Richneck Elementary for their response and continued support of our students and our community moving forward from this event. When I arrived at Richneck Elementary School on Friday, I was coming from the southern portion of the city, and it took almost 30 minutes to get there. And by that time, a lot of operations were already in place. Our sheriff's office and with supporters, police had already sectioned off the area, and parents at that time, while very concerned, were cooperative. I'd like to thank the Richneck parents. They were very cooperative. They allowed us to put operations in place. They allowed Chief Drew and team to continue to search the building, and they allowed us to put a reunification plan in place in a very fairly short time, which allowed us to identify parents or guardians and make sure that they were reunified with their students. It took approximately 3 hours to complete that reunification process, which I thought, under the circumstances that we were dealing with, was very well done. So I'd like to thank all involved there. My remarks, we are very pleased to hear that our teacher, Abby, is improving. I look forward to seeing her soon. And we are continuing to support the staff of Richneck Elementary and the students. As of this day, all students who were in the classroom in that incident we've been offering mental health supports, and we've reached out to those families. We've continued to reach out to the Richneck Elementary staff to offer any mental health support as needed, and we have created a helpline that allows any parents or any community members who need support to contact that helpline, even if it's just a matter of talking to their child about what occurred. We also continue to offer that support to all of our staff in Newport News, teachers, families, and the community, because an incident like this does not traumatize one community; it traumatizes the entire city. And we're at a point in public education today where we have to continue to do our best to not only attract and retain the best teachers and the best staff that can serve our community, but also ensure that we have a safe learning environment for students to continue to grow and learn. And in many instances, we've had challenges here in Newport News, and we're not unlike many cities across the nation who have struggled with the impact of gun violence. However, we have to be very proactive moving forward, and to that, I say that our first approach this week has been to continue to follow up with the chief in his ongoing active investigation, but to conduct our compliance investigation as well Whenever we have a serious incident of this nature, we want to unpack what transpired leading up to that incident. And so we can learn from it, not only from a procedural standpoint, but also from a safety standpoint. And we're in that process of doing that first. This is day 3, as Chief mentioned, and day 1 of our compliance investigation. And we will continue to meet with staff, collect statements, and also assess what transpired on Friday. Our next concern is the mental well-being of our faculty, our staff, not only the staff of Richneck Elementary, but our entire division. I've received many emails, some supportive, some concerned, some afraid, and it's understandable. Some angry, and I'm angry. But I know that we have to find a pathway to move forward. And I know that means that while we may be angry or in fear and don't understand all the details of what transpired, we'll get to that point where we can answer all of the questions, where we can clearly communicate what moving forward will look like. And I'd like to also thank those educators, principals, and students who are attending school today. I know it took great steps for some of them to wake up and go into a school building today. And that's the type of educators we have in Newport News. We're committed to our mission. We want to make sure that our students have a place to learn, and we want to continue to work on those areas of safety and other areas that we are going to focus on. So we have canceled classes at Richneck Elementary for the entire week, and we're going to use that week productively. We had very good meeting with the staff today, virtual, and I offered some questions that we want them to answer for us around school safety, what they would like to see take place in order for them to return to the school. What are some of the expectations for us in terms of supporting Richneck Elementary and their community? Once we gather that information from the staff, we will start building out a plan for our schools to begin school again. We do not have a timeline at this time for school operations to begin at Richneck Elementary. We want to work on the mental health of our staff and really build out a plan with their input that will allow us to proceed forward with their cooperation and the cooperation of our parents and families. We also have set out a town hall for the Richneck community so we can start hearing from parents on their concerns, and also begin to share out some things that we may do different moving forward. It's important to note that we have very detailed safety procedures in Newport News Public Schools. We've had 2 instances this being the second, over the past 17 months that involve gun violence in our schools. We learned a lot from the first incident, but one of the things we have to think, and it was a secondary school incident, it was a high school incident. In no way do I believe that we were fully prepared for a 6-year-old student to bring a gun to school, a weapon to school, and shoot his teacher. And just doing a little bit of research, since 1970, there have been 3 instances over 50 years where a 6-year-old student or less.
Well, I can understand what he says. Ain't no way we would have prepared for a 6-year-old to do that. And I understand that, because a lot of us let our guard down, again, thinking nothing would happen. And this is why I'm especially strongly to you all. If it's something that you have started doing, keep on doing it. Do not stop, okay? Do not take a break from it. If it's got anything to do with the safety of your family, do not stop. Again, car alarms, door alarms, locked doors, or whatever. If you've been doing it, continue to do it, all right? And if you haven't done it, then start doing it. Even for me, not just y'all, even for me. Because I know I come in this house a lot of times, and I don't set my alarm or whatnot, because there's quite a few people in this house. But see, even with that, though, after hearing this, you just never know what's going to happen, okay? So with him saying that, yeah, I agree with that. But at the same time, though, you the one that said that, y'all use y'all metal detectors at random times. Okay, I guess in a sense that's understandable. But again, by y'all dropping y'all guard down, this got passed, okay? And this young fella came in and did the unthinkable. So like my grandma and granddad used to tell me all the time, or the wise people I talk to all the time, expect the unexpected. When you let your guard down, expect the unexpected. Okay? So hopefully after this happens, they will beef up the security at their school and they can prevent this from happening again.
Has discharged a weapon in a school. So there's a lot to learn here and a lot to unpack. And I would not stand here and say that we have all the answers. But we're up to the task of making sure that we do what's necessary to make sure that our elementary schools are safe, and that we can minimize any risk of future violence in our schools. So with that being said, we've talked about some of the instances that have occurred. I want to make sure that everyone understands that part of our preparedness is to train everyone in active shooter training. We call it the Civilian Response to Active Shooter Events course, or CRAES. I believe that every school division across the country should follow those procedures. What we saw were teachers who took immediate response to secure their students, to make sure that they separated themselves from a potential threat, and they responded accordingly. And I believe those types of things will happen through proper training. So with that being said, I really want to raise up our Richneck staff for their response, their active response until the police could get there and really support us during this event. And we'll continue to unpack over the next few days what transpired on that day. How can we prevent it? How can we learn from this event moving forward? And then we'll share that with our communities and continue to seek their input and feedback. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Mayor Philip Jones, and thank you all for being here. The first thing that I want to say is that it's been a long 3 days for our city and our community. I just want to take a moment and acknowledge that. Second of all, I want to thank all of the first responders that were involved. And when you go and you actually look at that list, that's more than just the sheriff's office or the police department or the fire or the staff or the teachers or the principals. There are so many individuals that I want to say thank you. Thank you to the parents that showed up, that were orderly, that allowed us to evacuate the children in a safe manner, ensure that we had everyone accounted for. Thank you for the police that established the outer and the inner cordon. Thank you to my colleagues on council and on school board who worked the line for hours with me. I appreciate that and appreciate our partnership. So I just want to say thank you. My colleagues, both council and school board, have spent a lot of time at the hospital over the last few days. And when you think about Abby, when you think about what it means to be a hero, you're almost at a loss for words. During my time in the Marines, I've met heroes. I've met living legends, and I can tell you, Abby would be welcome in our company anytime. The fact that we live by a motto of Semper Fidelis, of always being faithful, and she was faithful as a teacher, and she was ensured that everyone is accounted for, and that she was the last one to leave. Okay, I do want to say that. As mayor, and my priority is to ensure that the safety of our children is number one. That is the most paramount thing, and we are always going to ensure that. The members of City Council and myself, we stand committed to supporting the Newport News School Board as they review policies and protocols and take necessary steps to safeguard against this happening ever again. I could not be prouder of our first responders, of Chief Drew. It really is. Watching you work has been an honor. This has shaken us. This has shaken me. But Newport News is a strong community. And together, we are going to work together to ensure that the well-being of our children remains a priority. And as mayor, that's what we're going to do. Thank you.
Okay, before we take questions, I just want to clarify that I know there was some frustration about not releasing Ms. Warner's name initially, but Chief did get permission from her this morning to do that. So, okay, any questions?
Parents told you anything about whether the child had problems previously in school, disciplinary issues, anything like that?
So I don't know exactly verbatim I know that there are faculty members that we want to talk to, and that there are those children that were in the room and their parents. Those are some follow-up interviews we want to have, but we want to make sure that we have those as they fall into, as we recover evidence and process the information we have coming in. So I don't want to get into comments that they have made. I still remember, and I just, again, caution, I want to be as open and transparent as I can. I think we have a good relationship that way, but I also don't want to jeopardize any investigation that moves forward, and there's some different moving pieces and components. So I wouldn't want to get into actual statements that were given by anyone who might have some of that information. Is that fair? Those are two great questions. You know, as we'll work with our professionals, we'll get some information back about some treatment that is being going on right now, an evaluation, and to hear some of those things. As far as charges against family members, parents, there's been a lot of questions. I've seen a lot of posts in the media, and I am certainly not as well versed as others in the social media side, but I've seen a lot of conversation about, are the parents going to be, so talking with our Commonwealth Attorney, we have a great relationship and the utmost respect. I met with him or talked with him. I was with him last night. We talked today. That once the information, right, once all the interviews have been conducted, as the gentleman behind you had just asked about, if the parents said anything, once all that stuff is obtained, we know what we know from Human Services or Child Protective Services, what information the schools have, the other interviews that we still need. I'd like the detectives want to go back and have some more conversation with Abigail. We will present that and sit down with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. They will review that, and a great comment he made to me today was, where the facts are and what the law supports will determine if there will be any charges. But I would be wrong to make that statement now. It'll be where the investigation leads. They're still trying to put all of that together. Sir.
Chief, you said you believe this was an intentional act, and you believe the teacher here saved lives in that classroom. Do you have reason to believe that this 6-year-old was targeting multiple people in that classroom?
Everything we have at this point that it was intentional. I do believe that. I believe that the actions were at or towards the teacher, but you never know how someone's going to want to react with a firearm, with students, and we're talking about a 6-year-old child. I don't know what all was going through that that child's mind. But what I do know is that she made sure that every one of those kids were out of that room, and she was the last one to leave. And she took upon herself in that situation, after suffering a gunshot wound, to make sure that her students, and she made sure that I understood that, those are her students, that they were safe. So I believe she did save lives, because I don't know what else might have happened if those kids would have stayed in that room. Sir.
Superintendent, could you talk about what the plan is to address the students when they come back to school?
Absolutely. Our first steps right now is to offer mental health support and then to provide the community with some transparency as far as what occurred and solicit their input in how we will proceed forward. Once those plans are developed, that will involve supports for students. We know that we have a crisis response team that started their work on Friday evening, and they will be there for as long as they're needed once school begins for the students and faculty of Richneck Elementary School. So right now, our goal right now is to build out a plan for us to transition back to operations. But it will involve the input of parents, the input of staff, supports for our students as they transition back. And that's as far as I have right now, because I cannot communicate a plan right now without their input.
Chief, did we interpret that correctly? The student just pulled out the gun from the backpack out of nowhere unprompted? There was no verbal argument?
So there was no physical struggle. There was no fight. The firearm was displayed from his person, not from his backpack. And he pointed that firearm and fired one round.
So you were in an altercation last month. Is that still a fair word of use?
So for me, that when altercation was an interaction, maybe that would have been a better word. But I can tell you what I know today, and we got to remember we were just hours, right? What we know today is that she was providing instruction. He displayed a firearm, he pointed it, and he fired one round.
So, Chief, the other day,
So the question was asked, was there anything verbal and anything like that, and he's saying now it's an interaction, but what interaction? You said that she was giving instructions. She was giving instructions to the class, I guess, and he just pulled his gun out. I mean, but all this time y'all kept saying it was altercation, though, unless y'all just holding back the information right now. So now I'm concerned about that part, was it really any altercation at all, or it could be one of those situations? This is another child playing violent video games and he want to see what it's like to shoot somebody, or what is really going on here? Seriously, what is really going on here? What up, Nate? Okay, this is wild. This is wild. Something going on with this. Yeah.
See, there was no actual.
Can you repeat the question? I can't hear the question.
He just kind of out of the blue pulls out the gun and shoots her.
You're asking me, is that what happened? Did he display a firearm and shoot her?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And he did not. How did he have the gun outside of his? I mean, he was just holding it in front.
So you got to remember, his question was, if you didn't hear that he's asking how was he holding the firearm. There's a lot of follow-up interviews that we need to do. We need to work with child psychologists, professionals, as we talk to the individuals inside that room. There's some more interviews we want to do with Abigail to determine that. But it didn't come out of the backpack. He had that firearm on his person.
Can you tell us if the family had any interaction with law enforcement?
His question was, can you tell us if the family had any interaction with law enforcement? I can tell you that all of those things are being reviewed. But I would just go back to say that the firearm was purchased legally by the child's mother, and that she had the right to do that.
Were there any disciplinary actions on record with the child?
So those things, again, we will be obtaining. His question was, are any disciplinary actions on file with the child? Those things we'll be looking at. I couldn't even share with you that because it is a child. We'll be working with our Child Protective Services and our school system. It will be put in the report and then submitted all.
And that's a good question. Now, any disciplinary actions, they got reports on him or whatnot. It's something going on with this child. That is a good question. I would like to know that too.
To make sure that the Commonwealth Attorney and all that need to have their eyes on that investigation have that information. She asked about how many students were in the classroom. I don't want to speak for Dr. Parker, but from what I saw and from my conversation with Abigail, I believe it was about 16 to 20 students. There needs to be some more follow-up interviews before I would answer that question. Okay, is that fair? His question was, can you tell us who took the firearm away from the child? I can tell you that it fired one time. There was a school employee who entered that room as deputies and officers entered that was restraining that child. The firearm was on the floor, and that's where it remained. But there's some more interviews that we need to go through before we go down that.
You said that the mother purchased the gun legally, but how was it secured that the 6-year-old could get it? Was it secured in the home or left unsecured?
That's a great question. We've got we're trying to piece that together. Her question was how the firearm was secured in the home. That is a key element for us to.
And I think we all been asking that question since I've been covering this story. Where was that gun at for him to get it like that? And if she purchased it, did you just leave it around for him to get it, or was he watching you where you put it at? Did you not secure it, or could the unthinkable happen that she actually gave him the gun herself? Now we can't rule that out either. All right.
Determine. Right now we have some statements, but we want to shore those up. So I'm not going to go into much further than that. What I can tell you is the child did take the firearm from the house. He put it in a backpack and took it to school that day. But I don't want to go at this point about how that firearm was secured, where it was secured at, and how the child may or may not have known where it was at.
Also, how does a 6-year-old have the strength and dexterity and know-how to fire a gun?
That is a great question. and I wish that we never had to have it asked. How does a 6-year-old know how to use a firearm? I don't know that I could give you an adequate answer. I know that I have seen some video games out there that depict it pretty clearly. Whether it's some think it might be a toy at one point. I don't know how to answer that. It's unprecedented. I don't know how to answer that question.
Possible prior experience firing one?
I don't know how to answer that question fairly.
Was this a general education classroom, and were there any other staff members in the room?
I'm not exactly sure what type of class it was, or I mean, Dr. Parker, if you want to touch base on that.
Question was whether it was a general education classroom and were there any other staff members. To my knowledge, it is a general education classroom, and to my knowledge, there were no other staff members at that time present in the classroom. But we're investigating our chronology of what occurred, and so we're going to confirm that.
We've received many emails from parents, not of just that school, but other schools in Newport News, asking about the safety of their kids. They're not sending their kids to school from other schools. What's your message to the parents? Are your schools safe, and what steps are you going to make after this to make sure they are safe?
The question is, what are we doing to keep our schools safe? We have protocols in place for school safety, and we also provide those our staff and/or administration training in school safety procedures. Again, this is an isolated incident that is unprecedented. Over a 50-year period, 3 instances over 50 years. While every situation creates alarm, and the pain and anguish and the whole process of emotions that have to go through with that. We continue to assess our security procedures and work on our procedures with our police department and make modifications if there's something that's missing. Now, what's clearly missing in this case, and we've addressed metal detection, random searching, and all kinds of other things at the secondary level due to an incident that occurred a year ago. I'll be honest, who would be prepared for a 6-year-old to bring a loaded weapon onto school or a weapon onto school and shoot their teacher? So with that,
my man Nate said something quite interesting. He says these kind of things always have precursors. These type of events are breaking points due to negligence. Yes, never random, always instigated, and then they wonder why. And Nate, and I'm glad you said it because one of the things I said when I first started covering this story, okay, something had to happen for him to even want to do this, unless he having some behavior issues. I don't know. Could a teacher been saying something out the way to him, and he just wasn't saying nothing, and she just said one thing too many, and he just took matters into his own hand? Or could it be a possibility that the mom instigate him to do it? Because maybe he was going home telling his mom the teacher was doing this, teacher was doing that. What if he's telling the truth or telling a lie? Maybe he went home and told his mom that, hey, this, that going on. And the mom possibly could have gave him the gun, which I really don't think that happened, but just throwing it out there, anything is possible. After he came home so much, kept complaining about this, that, and the third with the teacher, did she take matters in her hand and gave him the gun to go do the damn thing, so, and now they saying, hey, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't use the word altercation or interaction, so, but now they saying she was just giving instructions to the class and he just pulled his gun out and shot. So, of course, something had to happen for him to do this or to make him want to do this. All right? Again, unless he just got mental situations. I don't know. But good comment.
that being said, the next step would be to look solely at that deterrent. At the elementary level, we've primarily focused on an adult or a person entering a building as an active shooter. And we've made plenty of safety adjustments, hardening our buildings, making sure we have safety protocols for entry points, making sure that we have protocols in the building, such as training for our staff for active shooters. We've done this at both elementary, middle, and high. but we rely quite a bit on metal detection.
I love to talk. I'm glad you said that. Good call. I like you said it because in the field that I do, with the kind of work that I do, I work with people. All right, Jeff, appreciate you coming. If some of the people have mental health that bad, when their behavior just out of control like that, they don't even have knives in the house. You know what I'm saying? Let alone a lot of these houses don't even have forks in them. Because when some of these people get out of control, man, you just be amazed what they could do with them things and take and do with it. You know, so you're right. So I would probably do the same thing too if I had children who had behavior issues, this stuff like that. Anything that's sharp that I think they could use, I will put it up. You know, it'd be strictly plastic for them. You know, so I like that comment.
Part of our deterrence at the secondary level. And I believe, and I hate to be at this point where I'm considering this, but we have to start relying on those types of deterrents at the elementary level as well. So our coming out of this
right, Spice Cat. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying, Spice Cat. You know, I don't think she gave it to him, but what if though? Just what if?
Our debrief of this situation. It may warrant us to reconsider all metal detectors at all of our buildings, and that may be, at least that's one extra layer of support. Now, I will say, with metal detection and other forms of security, no single method of safety measure is going to completely ensure that no incident will occur in the future. I would never make that guarantee. It requires the support of our community to make sure guns are not in the hands of youth. It requires us to do the training necessary and to have all of the layers of our safety plan in place: video surveillance, controlled entry and access points, make metal detection and searching, hot tip lines where kids or parents may contact us. We avoid a lot of situations with that. Social media monitoring. There are a lot of layers of safety that we are already in place. And this is an unfortunate incident, but I would dare say that we do have a lot of effective protocols in place to maintain the safety in our schools today. This incident right here will cause us to rethink how we handle our youngest children coming into our division. And I mentioned being angry earlier because I know my board members know how I feel about making our schools look anything like a prison or prison-like procedures in our schools. I want our schools to be great places to educate children. But I also understand, and I agree with the sentiment of my staff and parents and families, that if we can't maintain safety or at least get to the point where we can have an effective and safe school day, kids won't learn anyway. So that's where we are right now as a staff and as a community. I will continue to work with my school board, city, and mayor to look at our procedures. And I don't believe anything would have avoided this circumstance right here unless kids walk through a metal detector. So that's something that we just have to consider moving forward. And the question is whether we have cameras in the classroom. I would, from that standpoint, I don't like to mention where our cameras are in our buildings, just for the needed security measures that we have in place. We have cameras, complete coverage in the interior where we're able to monitor student behavior and staff behavior. But places like restrooms, interior classrooms, there are some, we do not necessarily monitor those on a random basis. We have monitoring systems in place to record. So we currently do not put cameras in every classroom in our schools. That's something I'll have to go back and assess. I know there was some recording taking place.
Well, maybe y'all need to start, man. After this, maybe y'all need to start. All right? It wouldn't hurt, because like I say, better safe to be sorry. Maybe y'all need to start, right? They said private and group emotional encouragement and support would be second on my list to enforce with these areas. We have entrusted or treasured children. He said earlier, one of the worst things that happen and willfully allowed, even promoted within our schools, is immense bullying. And Nate, you've been following me for a while, bro, and I always speak on it about that bullying. This is the first area I will pursue as a parent and formally and responding. Yes, sir. That bullying is getting out of control too. And that's why I say again, could it be something that the teacher was saying out the way to him? Could it be a possibility she was slick bullying him, which is probably not the case, but you just can't help but to wonder what possibly could have happened, because now y'all just making it seem like now he just got this gun and shot her while she was giving instruction to the class, so man, again, always so few answers and so many questions, but I guess they'll in due time they'll let us know everything.
There was firsthand account, but in this particular case, I would have to go back and review the video evidence to see what we have recorded in our school division. And I have not at this time. This is day one. I have not reviewed video evidence at this particular point. Chief Drew has been leading the investigation from a criminal standpoint. My investigation will be completely different. It's from a compliance-related standpoint.
Sorry. Superintendent, you had said this is the second incident of gun violence in the Newport school. Do you know how many other incidents this year occurred in which a child brought either a gun or ammunition or some other deadly weapon to a school that didn't result in violence but might have been picked up by teachers? Can you say that that didn't happen, or what do you know about that?
And I'll ask, are you referring to Newport News Public Schools or other school divisions? Okay, I can't give you a number of any safety measures. We do safety searches, and if a student is found with a weapon, it is documented, recorded as such. But at this point, I can't give you a number of any confiscations or any weapons violations at this particular point.
Chief, how many bullets were in that firearm? Parents reporting that the student had previously threatened this teacher in his classroom, and perhaps.
I don't know about them, but if I find a student that young in my school with a weapon, I mean, yeah, I probably would get it like he said they do and make notes of it. But I had to ask him, once you find this, are they allowed to keep going to your school? Because me personally, if it was left up to me, will you start doing that at that young age, or hell, not even that age, but going to any of my schools, period, and you coming in with a weapon, and we find it, and I find out you had it, not only would I document it, but you're not coming back to none of my schools, man. And the reason I say that because we know how some of these hotheads get, even these youngins. They gonna keep on trying until they succeed. Okay? So, and some may say, hey, kicking them out your schools, and they probably ain't gonna do no. He probably can still come back and do it. Yeah, that is true. But I can limit him posing a threat by keeping going to my damn school. Okay? So, me personally, if I find it on you, even if it's a child that's 6 or 10 years old, if I find you in my school with a gun, you got to go. Contract off. I don't care what school y'all take them to, but you can't take them to mine no more. You can't take them to mine no more, no, because I won't play that. I won't play that. You got to go. You and your child got to go. All right? And it really won't be nothing really personal, but it'll be slightly personal. But the main thing would be the safety and the business aspect of it, okay? Your child doing this, bringing weapons to my school, trying to harm others, you got to go. You got to go.
At this point, I'm not at liberty to speak to that because we're still investigating that the instance that occurred.
How many bullets were in the firearm, and do you believe the student would have turned the gun on other students?
I don't know what was going through that child's mind. He's 6 years old. I don't know. I don't want to release how many rounds were in the firearm. I can tell you there were more than one. But I don't want to go into that. I will tell you it was a 9mm Taurus firearm, a handgun that was recovered.
Chief, you had said he's in the hospital. You had said he's in the hospital right now.
All I'm going to say, the question is asking where the child is at.
Well, what's the next step for him?
So the next step will be that because of his age, he has 96 hours to go in front of a judge, and they will determine continual treatment or the next steps. But that will be handled by several individuals around that age group that specialize in dealing with a child, again, a 6-year-old. So that has to wait to be determined, but he has 96 hours before that child will go in front of a judge to determine what are the next steps.
What, does that mean you're bringing up charges against him?
That means that a judge will determine if we continue with that temporary detention order, if treatment and evaluation continue, or what the next steps may be. So we just have to wait until that. I want to make sure, again, I am not going to push and press this to be we're going to make sure that there's a lot of questions. You all have asked a lot of questions. I promise you, multiply that by 3, and that's the questions that we have. But we are not going to rush through it. Did you have a question, sir?
Any more details on the actions of the staff member who apparently entered the room?
So his question was, do I want to add any more information? All I can say is this, and then I'm going to step aside, is that there is video recording from the hallway that we have observed. That's how we know the children ran out of the classroom and across the hall. When the gunshot went off, there was a school official, I'm not going to release her name or even her position, that entered that classroom and restrained that young man, that child, I should say the child, I'm not saying young, that child, the 6-year-old child, until sheriff deputies entered and officers entered and held him. I believe that the child struck her once or twice, and then she released him, and he was taken into police custody and escorted out of the building safely.
So he hit another person while he was...
Okay, I think that we're going to wrap up now. Thank you very much. If there are more questions or if there's any further information we can release on the criminals side of the investigation, we will do that through Twitter. So be sure and follow our page there. So thank you all for coming.
So not only he shot the teacher, but the lady who was restraining him, he was hitting her. Okay? So now again, the question about the behavior now, does he have behaviors? Does he have behaviors? Okay? Now, I love to talk. You say that's a baby. Well, I put it like this. However you want to address him, that's how you want to address him. Because I say young man, and I noticed the police kept saying, well, I'm not going to call him young man, I'm going to call him a child. And people have a problem with me when I say young man. But like I tell you, I'm an 80s baby. That's how I grew up. They would call us young men and young ladies. You know, they would call us that, or young fella, you know, things like that. You know, so, I mean, it's really no harm in saying that. I read them say they didn't disrespect them, call them like little bitch or little punks or something like that, you know. But young man, young fella, and all that stuff, you know, I don't have an issue with that at all, you know. But again, and I would say this to you, Miss Single. Thank you so much, babe. But I'll say this to you. And shout out to my man Nate. Nate always coming in, you know, speaking real facts, you know. Some of y'all, who my day ones, know who Nate is. You know, some of y'all who's here now, y'all probably know who he is. But regardless of what, that's my brother. Me and this man had some good conversations. Even if we disagree, me and that man had some good conversations. And I think Nate, we only had like, as long as we've been knowing each other, I think we only had like 2 disagreements or whatnot. But as men, hey, we'd be like, hey, we agree to disagree, you know. But however you said back in the 50s, you know, y'all had courses with guns or whatnot. Y'all used to go in the back and do this at the 30% in the comment section. Well, you know, I can't speak on that because I'm an 80s baby, so that way before my time. So all I know, when I was going to school, you know, they had none of that in the back. When we went to school, we go in, get our lesson, have our meal, have recess, have naps. And after you take a nap, I think we do some more lessons. Then that was the day. That was the end of the day right there. You know, that's when I'm going to school. But so if y'all do that back in the day, wow, you know, I wish I go back. I wish I could go back in time and see that when y'all did that back then. I would love to go back and see how they taught y'all that, you know. But this is a problem for me. Because even when I was in high school, They have courses in school to help you better on your way out of school. How many of y'all remember home economics? Okay. I wanted to take home economics when I was in junior high school, but they would never put me in that class for some reason. I don't know why. Home economics. I went to the school called Hamilton High down here in Memphis. They had a class where they were teaching mechanics. Had people working on cars. Then they had a section in the school, I don't know exactly what they call it, where they was teaching people, about dry cleaning, clothes and stuff like that. This was at Hamilton. Okay? And I'm pretty much sure there's more courses that I can't remember right now. But these was courses that would help my generation, me growing up in school, to help promote morals and more education. All right? Now I'm sure some of these schools still have these courses. And if they do, and I hope Hamilton still got it, and if they do, then please keep that up. But I got to keep preaching like I always preach to y'all. The breed of parents that we have in this time is fucking up the children. The breed of parents that we have in this era is fucking up the children. To me, parents are more about being a child friend. They more about how fresh their child is going to school. Back in my time going to school, my grandma used to always say, as long as you got clothes on your back, shoes on your feet, you good to go. You ain't got to have all this Nike shit. You ain't got to have all this Reebok stuff. You ain't got to have all of that just to show that you living well. You don't need all that. As long as you got clothes on your back, shoes on your feet, food in your belly, you was good to go. And I think a lot of these parents don't even think about it anymore. They lost their morality for some reason. They have lost their morality for some reason. Right, Library, hey babe, how you doing? They have lost that. And you can see all on social media. This the main thing a lot of these parents put up is how fresh they are. You know what I'm saying? Then, now this what gets me. Some of y'all mothers this may not bother y'all, but this bothers me. Some of these mothers I see on Facebook and all, they be having on like these outfits. They do be looking cute, but you know what I'm saying? Kind of almost borderline hoish in a sense. And would take a picture with their daughter in his same outfit, almost as snug as theirs. And talk about look at my mini-me. I got a problem with that. I don't think you're sending the right message when you do that. I don't. Because if a lot of people looking at you and your clothes are snug on you and your hips and ass and titties is showing, why would you want your daughter having her clothes snug just like yours as well? That's not a good message to me. And I could be wrong. But that's not a good message to me. It's just like me. If I have a son, I'm taking a picture, I'm fresh, got my pants sagging on my ass, and he got on the same outfit doing the same thing too, what message am I sending? He gonna be just like me. Or what the folks called back in the day, you looking slouchy, you looking trifling. Because again, I thought our goal as parents was to teach them better than what we doing. Not exactly what we doing. We supposed to teach them better than what we doing. But y'all know the era we living in, you can't tell them about their child. As soon as you say something about their child, you finna get cussed out. And you ain't saying nothing wrong. You gonna get cussed out. In this era, we have lost our way. We have. We really lost our way. And you have to understand the people now who says, I don't even let my children go nowhere near schools no more. I homeschool my children. The crazy thing about that is, that's where it's come down to now. You got 10-year-olds and 6-year-olds who can shoot a gun. It seems like they can shoot it well. Everybody's life is in danger. Everybody's life is in danger. Especially if you're 10 years old, you can pull a gun and kill your own mama. Everybody's life is in danger. Librarian said, my question is, have we ever had our way? In what sense are you speaking? In what sense are you speaking? MC, what's going on? Roller Mouse said, I remember being in high school and the teacher used to bully me because I had no new pair of shoes. I guess that's what you're trying to say. Every day, and my mom are you saying you to have no new shoes or you had a pair of new shoes? Oh, you said, oh, okay. Now you put it like that, Librarian, then yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. You put it like that. That's a damn good question. Have we really had our way? That's a damn good question. And if you put it like that, then we probably never did. We probably never did. We probably never did. These are sad times that we're living in, guys, and we got to do better. As parents, we got to do better. We got to do better. I'm not a parent, but I just say we because I'm grown up. That's why I just say we because I'm grown up. But it's time for us to do better. It's been time for us to stand up, but, you know, I think a lot of us got our priorities in the wrong place. I think that's another thing, too. Lightbear, would you agree? That a lot of us as adults got our priorities in the wrong place. We too busy trying to impress versus keep on learning. Cause just because I'm 42 years old, I'll be 43 next month. Don't mean that I know everything. I'm still learning. So I would never get over here to tell you that I know everything. Cause I know I don't. What up, Ron? But Miss Singer, I wanted to say to you, I know you trying to keep me up and up on the story or whatnot. I'm going to say this about the picture about the child. Like I told you, the first one, I didn't really think that was him because I think I did a story with that picture before. I don't think that's him at all. Now, the second one you sent me, it possibly could be him. I don't know. But here's my thing with that, though. If they keeping the child identity hidden and they're not letting his identity out, how's people come to getting pictures saying that it's him? Who is getting these pictures saying that that's him? They did it. That's what I'm curious about. What up, Johnny? What's going on? That's what I'm curious about. How is people getting the pictures claiming that's him? So something like that to say that it's him or not, I just wait till they come out with an update. They probably ain't gonna never show his picture or anything like that, you know. So I don't know. We ever gonna get a confirmation who exactly it really is or how this young man look like, you know. But that be my question on that, you know. How's people getting a picture saying that it's him, and how do they know for sure that that's him? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for joining me, listening to this. So now we hear what happened. His mom purchased a gun legally, But now we need to find out, was she negligent, left this gun around for him to get, or did he know where she put it at and just said he went and grabbed it himself and stuck it in his backpack, just so much stuff that we still would like to know. All right? But I do my best to try to keep up with this story and bring y'all updates on it. Y'all be safe out there. Take care. And I'll holler at y'all next time. Peace out.